Have you ever just stopped and thought, man, life feels way too short? It's a question that's been around forever, right? Well, there was this wise old doctor, Professor Chuguev, who told a story that gets right to the heart of this feeling. And his story, it doesn't start in some philosophy class, but in the quiet, anxious halls of a hospital clinic. Let's dive into what he had to say.
So imagine this, outside the professor's office. This is literally the question weighing on every single person waiting. These aren't just patients, they're people who've traveled from all over, looking for some kind of miracle for their failing hearts. And every one of them is silently wrestling with that huge, fundamental question, to be or not to be.
And right in the middle of this, we meet our two main characters. First, there's Oleg Moldavanov. This guy's a world-famous opera singer. A total star. And then there's Viktor Soykin, a brilliant young artist, only 25 years old. Both of them are at the absolute peak of their careers, and yet, here they are, in the same room, with the same problem, a heart that's giving out on them.
So this is the question they finally work up the nerve to ask the professor. You can just feel the fear behind it, right? But there's also this little spark of intuition that maybe, just maybe, we're the ones responsible for our own early decline. And the professor's answer? Well, that's what this whole explainer is about.
Now, you might think Professor Chuguev starts by talking about medicine or surgery, but no, he starts with history. He kicks things off by looking back at humanity's long, kind of bizarre, and often pretty desperate search for a magic pill. You know, that fountain of youth to cheat old age.
And the lengths people have gone to, it is wild. Picture this. Back in 1889, a famous physiologist starts injecting himself with stuff from dog and rabbit testicles, swearing it made him feel 30 years younger. Then you had surgeons putting glands from rats and even apes into rich guys who wanted to feel young again. And sure, these things caused a huge stir, but the effects? They never lasted. In fact, they were often followed by an even faster crash.
Okay, and this brings us to the professor's big, crucial point. He explained there are really two ways to age. There's physiological aging, which is a slow, natural process, the way it's supposed to happen. But then there's what most of us actually experience, pathological aging. This is the premature, disease-filled version. So his argument is, it's not old age that's getting us. It's this self-inflicted sped-up decay.
And the professor, he did not mince words. He said he could say this to pretty much every single patient he ever operated on. The issue wasn't some flaw in our body's design. It was a flaw in how we live. The problem wasn't bad luck. It was us. What he bluntly called our dense ignorance about how to actually live a healthy life.
To really hammer this point home, let's go back to our opera singer, Oleg Moldavanov. His story is the perfect example of how a life lived against your own soul, your own nature, can literally show up as a physical disease.
On stage, Oleg was a king, a titan, adored by millions. But the second that curtain fell, he went back to a life that was completely isolated, totally controlled by his wife, Melania. She decided who he could see, what he could do, trapping him in what he called a gilded cage.
This stress didn't just appear overnight. It was a slow burn. First, his wife cut off all his friends and colleagues. Then, he broke a promise to help a friend because he was scared of what she'd do, an act that just ate him up with shame. The final straw? His wife pressured him into taking back a painting they'd given to a friend whose husband had just died. And it was right after this string of soul-crushing actions that he felt it, that first sharp, terrifying pain in his heart.
And this is the part that is just absolutely mind-blowing. The professor explained that a giant industrial press, one of these massive machines, might be built to handle a 10-fold overload. But the human heart? Nature designed our hearts to withstand a 20-fold overload. 20. So that just begs the question, right? If we are engineered with this incredible margin for safety, this unbelievable resilience, what on earth are we doing to burn through it so fast? What kind of insane, relentless pressure are we putting on ourselves that our bodies, which are built like tanks, finally just give up?
To answer that, the professor shared this simple, really powerful real-world example he came across. It's a tale of two brothers. They grew up in the exact same tough circumstances, but they chose two completely different ways to live.
And wow, the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you've got the older brother. He's about 70. He's lean, he's active, he's full of life. He still works, reads, goes skiing, and he's always surrounded by his family. Then you have his younger brother. Even though he's only 68, he's overweight, aimless, and totally alone. He drinks way too much and just doesn't seem to care about life at all. One looks vibrant and years younger than his age, the other looks like a broken down old man.
So you see, the difference isn't about genetics or luck. It's about lifestyle. It's about the choices you make day in and day out. And based on all these observations, the professor laid out a really clear, actionable blueprint for living a long, healthy, and genuinely meaningful life.
So, what's the secret sauce? Honestly, it's not that complicated. It's about finding work you actually love, living with honesty so you're not corroded by guilt and fear, practicing moderation. It's about moving your body, getting out in nature, and really treasuring your relationships with people. It's about avoiding obvious poisons like smoking and drinking too much, and maybe the biggest one of all, learning to get a handle on your own mind, your emotions, and your stress.
And what happens if we actually follow this advice? What's possible? Well, our whole definition of aging is changing. According to modern science, youth goes all the way to 45. Elderly doesn't even start until you're 61. And that final stage, for people who make it past 90, they're simply called long livers. This isn't some fantasy. It's a real potential that's inside every one of us.
But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. This was the professor's last, most important message, and he said it directly to that young artist, Victor. You can't just wait until you're old to start thinking about getting old. The foundation for a long, healthy life isn't laid when you retire. It's built, brick by brick, by the choices you make every single day when you're young.
And that brings us right back to where we started, only now we have the professor's wisdom. It's a question that goes so much deeper than just medicine. So before you reach for a pill, or before you book a doctor's appointment for that ache in your chest, whether it's a physical ache or an emotional one, maybe ask yourself this one simple and terrifyingly honest question first. Am I living right?